We said James Van Riemsdyk was due, and with 6 minutes and 58 seconds, remaining in the first period, 6 minutes and 58 seconds into the first period, I should say, he comes through, Scott, on the power play. A thing of beauty from the Flyers on the man advantage. He has quietly had a really solid start to the season, but nice to see him put one in the back of the net.
Yeah, not all the goals and assists that he had a year prior when he was hot right off the start, but right off that draw, he got into that corner, he worked that puck out of the corner, got up to Yandel, over to Drew. Drew does his thing, Couturier goes back door there, slide across the crease to JVR back door, elevates the puck to the net. Big power play goal, and that thing is moving crisply on that power play, and they're just doing their thing. And
little did we know then what we know now, that would end up being the game winner in this one so early in the game. The Flyers improved to 2-0 on this road trip. They are now 4-1-1 on the season. They complete their first pair of wins and their first back-to-back of the season, one of very many to
17
come.
of them, I think, in fact.
17 of them, or 16 of them to come. That was the first of 17. And, Scott, what stood out to you the most about what the Flyers were able to do tonight? Because sometimes wasn't the prettiest game, but they pulled it off.
Yeah, sometimes when, the other team's coming at you, you just got to hold your fort, hold your ground. And Martin Jones was the big story tonight. He stopped all those shots in the second period when Vancouver were all over the Flyers. And you need your goaltender to be the best player at some point in the season. And Martin Jones had a heck of a night tonight. And, that's what they're paid to do, and that's what they did.
All right, on that note, let's bring in Jim Jackson and Keith Jones on the crossover now. JJ Jonesy, what stood out the most to you about this one? As I just mentioned with Scott, it wasn't exactly the prettiest hockey game we've ever seen, but the Flyers get 2 points out of it, and really that's the important thing at the end of it.
Yeah, all wins are beautiful, Taryn. And you know what I like about this? Two things. Martin Jones, obviously, as we just chatted with him, and I mean, he's a guy who's trying to redefine his game, find his game, actually. It seems like he's on the way to doing that. So, of course, that's a big part of it. But just, Jonesy, the gutsiness of it, because that was a really hard-working win last night in Edmonton. I mean, they had to chase a lot in that game, block a lot of shots, all that. So to come back, travel, play another game against a fresh team, and be able to hang in there in the third period, that shows a lot.
Yeah, the third periods are what really stood out to me on both games. I thought they defended well in the third period against Edmonton last night, and tonight against Vancouver. It was a similar story. I don't think they gave up as many quality opportunities against the Oilers in the third as they did against Vancouver. Martin Jones did have to steal the show in the latter part of the game and for the majority of the second period when he was under siege. So goaltending a key in both wins. I thought Carter Hart was very good last night as well. But the way that they have defended while having a lead in the third period has been really impressive to me so far.
Yeah, and Jonesy, Scott, to that point, how difficult is it in these types of games where you're playing with a one-goal lead for an awfully long amount of time? Scott, how difficult is it in those types of games to try to battle it out, even when at times they were really struggling to try to get stuff going offensively?
It's hard hockey. You have to do the little things. You have to get the puck out of the blue line. You have to get it deep at the other team's blue line. Cam Atkinson iced that puck. JJ, he took one more step and got icing on the forecheck. And those little plays, it didn't come back to bite him in the butt, but the little things they did right tonight, especially right down to the wire, and Martin Jones, that one save on Besser, one of the best shots in the league, one-timer, saves it with his noggin. So just everything worked out for them tonight, and wasn't the cleanest game, most exciting, like Terrence said in the opener, but win's a win, like you said, and that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, and on that note with Atkinson, later in that shift, he comes back to make a nice play in the defensive zone, and you guys know when you kind of make the mistake, you feel it's up to you to make up for that. But I see a lot of that with this team where if a mistake is made, either that player or a teammate really steps up to make a play right after that, and that's a sign of a team that's coming together. Remember, a lot of new parts on this team.
Yeah, and faceoffs weren't a strength early in this game. For the first two periods, Vancouver had the edge, but I thought the Flyers won some important draws again late in the game, much like Giroux winning, I think 4 late in the game against Edmonton. Some key draws, some key face-off wins, and put that with some great goaltending, and you're going to get some wins. And what happens when you win games like this early on in the season, you start to build confidence in those situations. When you are playing with a lead in the third period, you're pretty confident in the rest of the group that everybody's going to do their job to help you win that game, and that's something that's really going to bode well for the Flyers moving forward.
J.J. Jonesy, speaking of building confidence here, we've talked a lot about James Van Riemsdyk and how solid he has been, even if his numbers aren't jumping off the stat sheet at you every single night. For him to break through, get his first goal of the season, what do you expect to see from JVR now? Because we know he likes to go on these tears. He loves a good goal streak, and I think most Flyers fans are hoping for it right now.
Yeah, and I mean, so often one leads to a lot, right, with him. But, you know, the thing about JVR is I think over the last 2 seasons, maybe even going back a little bit into the season before that, he has been one of the better Flyers in terms of driving play. And if you think about JVR early in his career, that wasn't necessarily the case. He's really rounded his game off as he's become a veteran. He's worked at it. He studies the game. He's one of the smartest players in the league, to be honest with you, from a hockey IQ standpoint. And you're seeing his overall game. So you asked the question, what do you expect? I expect him to just continue to play well, but the pucks are going to start going in for him.
They will, and the one thing he's done really well is get in on the forecheck using that speed. I mean, it's not something that used to jump out to me from up top that James was as fast or faster than a lot of players in the league. He is now. And that's an impressive part of his game. You talked about how hard he's worked to get to that point. This was not a God-given talent for him. This is something that he's done a tremendous job in keeping up with the league as the league has adjusted and become quicker. James has become quicker, and I think that is something that will serve him well. He gets to rebound opportunities fast. He gets the pucks that are gone past the net off the end boards. He's there to get those, retrieve those. Those are the things that are going to lead to a lot of goals for JVR as the season moves along.
Yeah. Taryn, you talked to a lot of the players. I guarantee you, if you go back through your interviews with them, when you ask them about JVR, the first thing they mention, he's so smart. I mean, they all, the guys who play with him, they know best, right?
He's smart, and he reads everything, and he's on top of everything. We always joke, I was joking with Joel Farabee about he's got a backpack full of gadgets, and they're all for, you know, health and fitness and that little extra edge. But you look at what he's doing, how many weapons he's added to his arsenal, even now in his 30s, and you got to give credit, you have to give players like that credit, because so often it's what are you going to work on in this offseason, what are you going to add? And JVR really has worked on and added so many things, as you guys just alluded to. But
yeah.
JJ Jonesy, thank you so much.
He clearly studied Jonesy, and Jonesy was a player.
Yeah, I've got a whole bag
Just
here
a
of stuff.
student of the game.
The evolution of
the game.
I've got candy bars
I got
and
Cheetos,
chips.
I got a Mars bar, Snickers.
Mars bar.
I'm ready.
The evolution of Keith Jones. It is notorious. JJ Jonesy, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, fellas.
Thank you.
See you guys.
All right, let's move on to our Colonial Nissan game changer. And I think it's fair to say just Martin Jones in this game, period, is the game changer for this game. 27 saves on 28 shots. Scott, the thing that's so interesting is when you got out of the preseason before the season began, so many people were concerned about Martin Jones from a preseason game that was wildly unfair to judge him off of. And now he's put together 2 really solid starts, a win against the Bruins and a win tonight in which he had to make some massive saves.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I don't think it was just the preseason game. It was probably his previous 3 seasons.
A little bit of Googling.
No, but Jonesy's good. And what does it for me is last night Carter Hart is a hometown boy in Edmonton, gets the big W. Tonight they're playing for Martin Jones, a Vancouver boy. So those guys, they play a little bit harder when there's extra money on the board, the family's in the stands, all these things combined, and you could just tell that there was sticks and lanes a little bit harder. They were closing a little bit faster, and they didn't fill the other team's net as much. But hey, they only need to score 2 tonight to win, and Jones came up huge late, which you want in your goaltender, and just love the way that he fought off a bunch of pucks, a bunch of rebounds, and did one heck of a job.
I would love to know what's going through his mind, because as we mentioned in pregame live, and I'm sure people have read about it leading up to this game, this is like bring your kid to work day. Martin Jones was going to Rogers Arena with his dad. His dad ran the rink. AV has quite a history with both Father Jones and Martin Jones as a kid growing up there. So there's there's the family, there's the friends, there's, the money on the board, but there's also a lot of familiarity when you go in there.
Yeah, there's stories behind the stories, and just makes everyone feel good. And it's like a home game for him. He's been there many times. Like you said, his dad was a big part of the growing the rink there. So it's just exciting to have everything come together and get a big win, play so well at home, and just happy for Jonesy.
So the hometown heroes, victorious,
There we
2
go.
for 2 to start this road trip. But let's hear now.
Who's from Calgary?
Oh,
Who's from Calgary?
I'm going to have to go back to the roster. I got to ask JJ before he leaves. But let's hear now from Flyers head coach Alain Vigneault.
Think of Martin Jones' performance.
I mean, he was an all-star tonight. He played extremely well. Didn't have a lot of work in the first period. We came out with a lot of energy, and we were playing direct. And in the second and third period, there's no doubt that he was a big difference in us getting this win tonight. We got again, maybe we're a little over the line there, but we took 5 penalties, gave them some momentum. They had some real good looks on their power play, but he made the difference. Our penalty killing tonight, obviously he made some big saves, but the guys did a lot of the right things. But obviously we would prefer to take a few less penalties, and our guys are very, very aware of that.
You got outshot in the second period last night against Edmonton, again tonight against Vancouver. How do you go about trying to amend that? I
mean, this is a tough league, and in the first period we had the better of the play. In the second period, they had the better of the play. It was and in the third, we found a way, even though on back-to-back nights and late getting in here in Van yesterday, we found a way to get the energy to roll the lines and get the 2 points. So really happy with what we've done these first 2 games on the road trip. We're going to recover. We're going to rest up tomorrow, and then we're going to get ready for Calgary, who I think have won 5 straight on the road here.
James and Reeves got that goal tonight, and then the other guys on that third line were also putting in some work that may not show up in stat sheets. What have you seen out of that line so far?
That line's been very efficient for us. I love the speed. I love the energy. For me, I feel every game that Oscar's finding his legs, he's finding his hands, he's getting a lot more pop to his game. So that's a good hockey line. And when they play the right way, they're very effective for our team.
What's more impressive on back-to-backs, the 15 shots for in the first, or what you did defensively in the third against what should have been a desperate team?
I think they were desperate. I mean, they played hard tonight. But in the first period, like I said, I think we were playing real direct. We lost some of the momentum with the penalties that we took. But we found a way to scratch and claw, and that's a highly skill level team with a lot of quickness. We were able to take some of that away, and when we needed a save, we got a save.
Your first look at Patrick Brown tonight, first impressions of him?
Yeah, I like his energy. What our management and our scouts had said about him being a direct player, an honest, hard-working, energy guy. That's what you see, and that's what we saw tonight.
Is Drew kind of reinventing things? Like we see teams work the power play down low, but he's using the end boards as almost like another player now.
They've done that a few times. You guys don't get to see them very much, but that's something that they've got in their repertoire that they use now and then. And tonight, it was a right play at the right time. Good. Thanks, guys.
All right, I want to talk about Giroux and those end boards. We saw it before in the first game against Vancouver. It's obviously an incredibly skilled move to make, and it seems like he's got it down to a science. How hard is it to pull it off with the accuracy it seems like he's acquired at this point?
Well, it's not hard at all. They're 2 for 2 this year, both times against the Canucks. But it's just something to have. Like you said, it's in the repertoire. It's they can get fancy with it. The simple plays, get up to your D, get to the net, crash the net, and score. But I like how they can just mix it up. I love Drew on the other side, where he's more of a shooter coming down north, firing the puck. He scored a goal a couple games ago in Philly. So they move the puck around so good. It seems like passes are always on the tape. They're getting some great looks. Both units are getting great looks. So it's a dangerous power play. It's not the McDavid show that they have at Edmonton. They do it by committee.
Yeah, but his vision on that, it seems like it adds an entirely new dynamic to what they're trying to do. I do want to talk about the PKs, though, because Alain Vigneault not stoked. The Flyers, 4 penalties last night, 5 tonight, so you're killing off 9 penalties.
7 the game before.
Yeah, I was going to say a far cry from the 7 against Florida. What do you think it is? What do you think the issue is, and how much do you really think it's affecting their flow of play? We saw, in the Florida game, it was pretty obvious just how much it brought the game to almost a dead stop.
It does affect it affects minutes. It affects players like Coos, like Farabee, like Cam that play extra minutes. You're asked to block shots where you don't really want to block shots, but you're on the PK, so you have to. That might lead to an injury if you get the shot in the wrong place. So they really have to cut that down. You can kill off 2 or 3 penalties a night, no problem, but you get to 4 or 5, and the way that these top-end players on every team in the league, the way that they can move around the puck and shoot and score, you're down to get some goals against.
Yeah, to have your penalty killers kill off 9 in 24 hours is
not good.
hefty task. All right, coming up here on Flyers Postgame Live, we're going to hear from Martin Jones, the hometown boy coming back victorious in his hometown tonight. We're also going to take a look at Giroux on that JVR goal and maybe a play that looked a little bit similar just a few days ago. We'll be right back.
Flyers Postgame Live is presented by Pure Auto Insurance.